Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am a little sick, so if I sound that way, it's because I am. Today I wanted to talk about the 5 books that I have either read or I am currently reading. I'm currently reading one of the 5. The other 4 I have read. Parenting books that I absolutely love. I think that within the Christian parenting space, there's a lot of bad theology, and there's a lot of things that people say and advocate that aren't scriptural, and I think it can really damage our kids. And so whenever somebody wants to argue with me about, the rod versus or whatever, I kind of just say, well, look at the fruit of that. And so this is one area where I mostly use secular resources. There are 2 Christian resources that I really like. One of them is a book that's on this list. And then another one is an Instagram page, which I will tell you about at the end. So the first book that I absolutely loved was A Theory of Objectivist Parenting. I'm looking at my laptop because I'm going to read the description. I bought this on Kindle. It is $4 on Kindle, and I loved it. It is really short, and at the end I was kind of hoping that there would be a little bit more, but it's so good. I actually read it on our trip back from Colorado. So I'm gonna read the description. Human beings can relate to one another with either mutual respect and freedom or mutual attempts to control and force. Objectivists idealize the former. Most of America practices the latter. Though objectivists are fundamentally against relating to their fellow human beings with various methods of control, bribery, threats, manipulation, slavery, many do not hesitate to relate in that way to the young human beings we temporarily refer to as children. In this short book, Rosalind Ross, who's the author, examines the contradiction and proposes a theory of objectivist parenting. I love this book. I am trying to get away from the behaviorist method of parenting. It's very, very hard. It's ingrained into our society and ingrained into me, but this book was so good and so helpful. The next one is No Bad Kids by Janet Lansbury. She is an RIE teacher. I don't remember what RIE stands for, but it's a method of parenting, and this book is so good. I also bought this on Kindle. I like buying them on my Kindle. I can carry them everywhere I go, and they don't cost as much typically. So the description of this book says, Janet Lansbury is unique among parenting experts. As an RIE teacher and student of pioneering child specialist Magda Gerber, her advice is not based solely on formal studies and the research of others, but also on 20 years of hands-on experience guiding hundreds of parents and their toddlers. No Bad Kids is a collection of Janet's most popular and widely read articles pertaining to common toddler behaviors and how respectful parenting practices can be applied to benefit both parents and children. It covers such common topics as punishment, cooperation, boundaries, testing, tantrums, hitting, and more. It provides a practical, indispensable tool for parents who are anticipating or experiencing those critical years when toddlers are developmentally obliged to test the limits of our patience and love. I loved this book. It's so helpful. And I don't even really feel like you have to read it in order. You can kind of go to the table of contents and read whatever you want. But so helpful and kind of a paradigm shift if you're used to the bribery and threats along with the objectivist parenting and manipulation or just control. You have to listen to me no matter what, and that's the end of the story. The third book is Heartfelt Discipline. Now, I'm gonna make a caveat about this book, maybe 2. The first, this book is Christian, so if you don't want a Christian perspective, don't read it. The second caveat is, it can be behaviorists in some points. So if behaviorist parenting is just not your thing and that's going to completely turn you off, then I wouldn't read it. However, it's not all behaviorist. And the reason that I really enjoyed this book was because if you are a Christian, he goes into the arguments against the rod versus as a means for disciplining small children. And some crazy people even advocate for infants. So if you want a book that really goes against the standard Christian narrative around childhood discipline, this would be the book, because I use it whenever someone tells me that you have to spank your kids, or you hate your kids, or you have to spank your kids, or you're not obeying scripture. He does such a good job, such a good job. I could do a whole video on why the rod is not meant for small children and toddlers, why Solomon did not mean that, and how modern spanking as we know it is a social construct, essentially. Like, it wasn't used back in Solomon's day. The rod was a judicial punishment, and it was meant as a last resort before you were stoned to death, because the sin or the crime or whatever was that serious. That's why in Proverbs it says, better to strike him with a rod than to send his soul to Sheol, which is literally the grave. So the rod is a better form of punishment as a last-ditch effort than going to an early death. And so there's a whole video I could do on that. So if you want to understand the biblical concept around the rod, especially if you're a Christian and you get that argument like I do, like, oh, you have to use the rod because there's 4 verses in Proverbs that says use the rod. This is really good. And it also goes into how translations get it wrong when they translate child. The Hebrew word is na'ar, and it actually means young man. So unless these people are advocating for you to also use the rod on teenagers and young adults, there's a whole issue with that. So that's another video. But if you're a Christian, highly, highly recommend this book, if for no other chapter than the chapter on the rod. Number 4 is Simplicity Parenting. As a minimalist, my heart just loved this book. It's not really going into like the behavior aspect of children and, you know, discipline and tantrum. It doesn't really go into that, but it does go into minimalism and how it benefits children, kind of how to streamline your home, how to make it more peaceful. I love slow living, which is why I love Madison Gray, and I love efficiency, and I love calm. And so this book just was really, really good. So it says, today's busier, faster society is waging an undeclared war on childhood. With too much stuff, too many choices, and too little time, children can become anxious, have trouble with friends in school, or even be diagnosed with behavioral problems. Now internationally renowned family consultant Kim John Payne helps parents reclaim for their children the space and freedom that all kids need for their attention to deepen and their individuality to flourish. Simplicity Parenting offers inspiration, ideas, and a blueprint for change. So good. I think I read this book in 2 days. It was that good. So that's number 4. And then number 5 is the one that I am actually still reading. I'm listening to it on audiobook as I go back and forth to work a couple of nights a week. I don't know if I ever posted that video where I explained that I picked up a part-time job temporarily, but I've been listening to this book on the ride to and from work a few nights a week. So I'm not very far into it, but it's still really, really good. It's called Unconditional Parenting by Alfie Kohn. I think I'm pronouncing his last name right. And the description is, most parenting guides begin with the question, how can we get our kids to do what they're told? And then proceed to offer various techniques for controlling them. In this truly groundbreaking book, nationally respected educator Alfie Kohn begins instead by asking, what do kids need and how can we meet those needs? What follows from the question are ideas for working with children rather than doing things to them. One basic need all children have is to be loved unconditionally, to know they will be accepted even if they screw up or fall short. Yet conventional approaches to parenting, such as punishments, rewards, and other forms of control, teach children that they are loved only when they please or impress us. Kohn cites a body of powerful and largely unknown research detailing the damage caused by leading children to believe they must earn our approval. That's precisely the message children derive from common discipline techniques, even though it's not the message most parents intend to send. So this is a really good book. Again, I'm only on like the 2nd or 3rd chapter, but so good. And then the final resource that I have is Flourishing Homes and Families on Instagram. I have deactivated my Instagram for a while. It was just too mentally stimulating. I was just in a funk. And whenever I get into a funk, I tend to delete YouTube, Instagram, all of those time-sucking apps and try and focus on my life, which YouTube and Instagram really aren't real life. And I have a family, I have kids, I have a husband, I homeschool, we do co-op, and then now I'm working 15 hours-ish a week at night. And so I'm busy. And then we have a puppy. So, but if you are on Instagram, highly recommend Flourishing Homes and Families. They're so good. It's Amanda, and I don't remember her husband's name. But they're actually coming out with a book. So when they come out with the book, I'll probably have a whole video on it because I am so excited about this book. And they're Christians, and they get crap for going against the traditional teaching of you must use the rod on your small children. And I am going to advocate that that is unscriptural and a bad hermeneutic, and that they're eisegeting whatever they want into the text to affirm their view of punishment. And so I will go to the grave advocating for that. And I think that there needs to be more Christians in this space who are speaking out against, the typical Christian view of parenting, because I personally think it's nonsense. And I'm a Reformed Calvinist for the most part, and I just don't agree with this. And so, yeah, if you need a good resource on Instagram that is Christian, highly recommend Amanda at Flourishing Homes and Families. Again, I don't remember her husband's name, but they are so good. Anyways, guys, these are my 5 books that I have loved lately, and then the extra resource. And I will hopefully see you in the next video. I'm trying to get caught up on everything. I'm trying to decide in what direction I want to take this channel. I have a lot of varied interest and a lot of things that I like, and I kind of want to find my space, like not to be confused with the social media. But I have a lot of different things that I'm interested in, and I feel like I can be all over the place. You can let me know down below if you prefer parenting and slow living, if you prefer just minimalism, which I'm not gonna lie, minimalism, like after a while, it kind of gets tiring talking about all of the time. So maybe I could incorporate minimalism, parenting, and slow living. I've done a keto carnivore video and it didn't do super well. So I'm assuming that most people don't really care about the keto carnivore content. But I am trying to decide in what direction I want to take this channel. And I think, because I'm so passionate about it, I think I'm gonna focus on parenting and minimalism, probably heavier on the minimalism side, but definitely more parenting things, because I am just so passionate about kids and parenting. Anyways, so thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.